Can you stand by the bathroom wall so you don't ruin the wedding photos with your age? That's what Mia, my brand new daughter-in-law, whispered to me, her voice sugar-sweet, her smile camera-ready. And I, Janet White, 64 years old, the mother of the groom, felt every eye at table 12 freeze. Forks paused midair. Great Aunt Helen gasped. I wanted to believe I'd misheard. But Mia's perfect lips didn't tremble. She meant every word. Too old, too embarrassing, too disposable for her picture-perfect Instagram wedding. I sat there for half a beat, humiliation burning my chest. Then I stood, smoothed the navy dress I had sacrificed a month of groceries to buy, and walked to the gift table. My hands were steady as I picked up the white box wrapped with silver ribbon. Inside that box was not just a wedding gift. It was the deed to a $2.8 million beach house and a check for $3 million. The kind of gift any couple would gasp at, cry over, brag about for years. But they would never see it. I walked right past the photographer setting up near the glowing entrance, past the guests whispering into their champagne glasses, past my son, my only child, who adjusted his tie, too distracted to notice the dagger his bride had just driven into me. I walked out of that glittering ballroom with my head high, carrying not just a box, but $38 million worth of freedom. That night, my phone exploded with calls. First Noah, then Mia, then relatives piling on at 3:00 a.m., wondering why I'd left. But I didn't answer. Not yet. Because here's what you need to know before you judge me as another bitter mother-in-law. This wasn't about one cruel comment at a wedding. It was about 36 years of sacrifice, raising a son who had forgotten what love and respect looked like. It was about being treated like a burden, like furniture to be moved out of the picture. They thought they could erase me. But that night, they learned a different truth. I was no longer the weak, widowed mother they dismissed. I was the woman who held the real power. And if you stay with me through this story, you'll understand why. Because the gift they expected was nothing compared to what they actually received. Before I take you back to the beginning, hit subscribe to Roots and Secrets and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Because this isn't just my story. It could be yours too. The phone kept buzzing at 3 a.m., its glow slicing through the darkness of my tiny apartment. I sat in Richard's old chair, the white gift box resting unopened on my coffee table, the silver ribbon still perfect. Noah's name flashed on the screen, then Mia's, then unknown number, probably her mother. I let them all go to voicemail. Because the truth is, my silence that night was the first real power I'd felt in years. I wish I could tell you this story was about one cruel remark at a wedding, but it had been building for years, layer upon layer of slights so small they were easy to excuse, yet so sharp they cut me down piece by piece. Like the night last month at the steakhouse. Noah, sitting across from me, ordering a $50 filet mignon. Mia sipping her third glass of Chardonnay, the diamond bracelet on her wrist catching the candlelight. Mom, you really should consider downsizing even more, Noah said casually, as if suggesting dessert. Older people don't need much space. Mia had nodded in agreement. My grandmother moved into assisted living last year. She's so much happier now. No worries about maintenance or bills. I chewed my salad slowly, the cheapest thing on the menu. They didn't notice I was pushing lettuce around a plate I couldn't afford. That's how it always went. When I offered to help with the wedding, Mia smiled politely and said, We're going for a modern, clean look. Very Instagram-worthy. Translation: My ideas didn't matter. When I suggested paying for the flowers, the photographer, the catering deposit, checks that emptied what little savings I had, nobody said, Mom, are you sure you can afford it? They just nodded and tucked the checks away. I was eating soup and crackers at home while they planned a honeymoon in Bali. Do you know what it feels like to be useful only when you're paying the bills? To be loved only as long as you're writing checks? I do. And then came the seating chart. "No, Mom. Table 12 will be perfect," Noah said over the phone, his voice brisk, efficient. "Where's that?" I asked. "Oh, it's in the back, near the kitchen. You'll be with Aunt Helen and some of Dad's cousins. Not at the head table, not beside my only child on the biggest day of his life." "Of course," I said evenly. "That makes perfect sense." But when I hung up, my hands shook so badly I had to set down the phone. I thought about Richard then, how he would have stood up, slammed his fist on the table and said, "That's your mother. She belongs by your side." But Richard was gone, and Noah had learned to treat me like a placeholder, a prop to move around, out of sight when inconvenient. I kept telling myself maybe Mia just didn't know better. Maybe she was stressed. Maybe it was nerves. Maybe it wasn't personal. But the truth? It was always personal. When she walked into my tiny apartment for the first time, I'd spent 2 days cleaning, cooking Richard's famous pot roast, trying to impress her. "It's quaint," she said, her eyes sweeping over the second-hand furniture. "Very vintage." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. I smiled back, but inside, something crumbled. Even when I gave them $3,000 as an engagement gift, nearly 3 months of Social Security payments, Mia didn't blink. She tucked the check into her handbag and said, "We can put this toward the honeymoon suite in Bali. $3,000. To me, it was survival money. To her, it was a hotel upgrade. And I let it happen, because I thought, if I just give a little more, maybe they'll finally see me as family again. But the lowest point wasn't the steakhouse, or the pot roast, or even the back table. It was the moment I stood in Murphy's Corner Market at 9:30 p.m., counting coins for a can of soup and a sleeve of crackers. The cashier, Tommy, sweet kid who'd bagged groceries since high school, looked at me and said, "Lottery's up to 62 million tonight, Mrs. White. You should try your luck." And for some reason, I did. I handed over $5 I couldn't spare, walked home with 1 ticket and 2 items, and wondered what Richard would say if he knew. Maybe he'd tell me I was foolish. Maybe he'd smile and call it investing in dreams. Either way, I knew this. I had nothing left to lose. So when Mia leaned over at her wedding reception, her voice dipped in false sweetness and told me to stand by the bathroom wall because I might ruin the photos with my age, that was not an isolated insult. It was the final nail in a coffin I'd been building for years out of their words, their dismissals, their casual cruelties. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just picked up that box, the one they thought held crystal wine glasses, and walked out. Inside was the truth they didn't deserve, the deed to a beach house and a check for $3 million. Outside was the woman they had dismissed, underestimated, and underestimated again. At 3 a.m., with the phone buzzing endlessly on the nightstand, I finally lifted it and stared at Noah's name. Did he care where I'd gone? Or was he just panicked about what people would think when the mother of the groom vanished before the cake was cut? I didn't answer. Not yet. Because this wasn't just about a wedding. This was about 36 years of giving everything and realizing I'd raised a son who thought it was acceptable to give nothing back. And that's when the real question began to burn inside me. If money could change the way they treated me, what would happen when they found out just how much of it I had? That thought haunted me as dawn broke, the winning ticket hidden in my jewelry box beside Richard's wedding ring. The first light of dawn seeped through the blinds, painting pale stripes across my living room. The gift box sat untouched on the coffee table, silver ribbon gleaming like it was mocking me. Next to it, tucked in my jewelry box beside Richard's wedding band, was the flimsy slip of paper that had already changed everything. 6 numbers printed in black ink. 7, 21, 35, 47, Powerball 9. I must have checked them 100 times against the television broadcast, every time the same. Every number matched, $62 million. But I didn't feel like a millionaire that night. I felt like a fugitive with a secret so big it could shatter the world I knew. I stayed by the window until the sun was fully up, nursing a cold cup of tea. The city outside was already humming, buses rattling by, a neighbor's alarm clock blaring through thin walls, footsteps on the stairs. Ordinary sounds. Meanwhile, I had become extraordinary overnight. What would Richard say? I could almost hear him. Follow your heart, Janet. Don't let anyone tell you you're less than you are. For years, I'd been shrinking into small apartments, smaller meals, quieter expectations. That morning, with the ticket pressed against my palm, I realized I didn't have to shrink anymore. I didn't rush. That would have been reckless. Instead, I spent the next 2 days devouring everything the internet had to say about lottery winners. Horror stories of people who spent millions in months, family members suing each other, strangers knocking on doors with sob stories. I scribbled notes like a student again. Trust, taxes, attorneys. Stay quiet. When Monday came, I ironed my one good blouse, slipped the ticket into an envelope, and took the bus downtown. The lottery office looked nothing like I'd imagined. No golden arches, no banners of confetti, just beige walls, fluorescent lighting, and a receptionist who barely looked up when I said, "I'd like to claim a prize." "Congratulations, Mrs. White," the claims officer said after a flurry of paperwork. "After taxes, your lump sum will be $38.4 million. $38 million. She said it like she was telling me the weather forecast. I signed documents with a pen that felt too ordinary for what it was recording. A fortune, distilled into neat signatures and initials. Walking out of that building, I didn't feel giddy. I felt steady, like I was standing on my own 2 feet for the first time in years. My first stop wasn't a jewelry store or a luxury boutique. It was a quiet branch of Westfield Financial. The banker's eyes widened when I asked to open multiple accounts and requested electronic transfers. He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "Mrs. White, may I recommend meeting with our private wealth team?" I nodded politely, but already knew I'd keep things close to the chest. Trust wasn't something I handed out anymore. My second stop was less practical, but far more symbolic. Henderson Real Estate had a for sale sign I'd passed countless times on my long walks. Lighthouse Drive, a house I'd secretly dreamed of, though I never dared imagine it was within reach. "Mrs. White, the asking price is $2.8 million, Beverly Henderson said, her tone careful, professional. "Would you like to schedule a tour?" "I'd like to see it today," I said. Something in my voice must have surprised her. She blinked, then nodded quickly. "Of course, we can go right now." The house was breathtaking. A wall of windows that seemed to invite the Atlantic Ocean inside. A wraparound deck kissed by sea air. Rooms bathed in light. It felt alive in a way my cramped apartment never had. "I'll take it," I said simply, standing barefoot on the deck as the waves crashed below. "Don't you want an inspection?" Beverly asked. "An appraisal? Comparable sales?" I shook my head. "No need. Full asking price. Cash." Her jaw nearly dropped. That night, I ate takeout noodles on the floor of my apartment, my back against peeling paint, my feet bare on cracked linoleum. The contrast made me laugh, an absurd, giddy laugh that echoed off the walls. I had just bought an oceanfront mansion, and here I was using chopsticks from a plastic wrapper. But it didn't matter. Because for the first time since Richard died, I wasn't afraid of tomorrow. The next few days were a blur of quiet, careful moves. I bought a sensible Toyota, reliable, nothing flashy. I ordered new furniture, both for the beach house and for myself. And then, the most deliberate act of all. I had the bank prepare a cashier's check for $3 million, payable to Noah and Mia. Yes, $3 million. Plus the deed to the beach house. That was going to be their wedding present. I imagined their faces when they opened that white box. Mia's frozen smile cracking. Noah's eyes wide. Maybe even tears. I fantasized about that moment the way some people fantasize about vacations. Finally, I thought, they would see me not as an inconvenience, not as an old woman to hide in photos, but as a blessing. But fantasies have a way of turning sour. The phone rang again that week. Noah's voice was brisk, distracted. "Mom, just checking if you need a ride to the rehearsal dinner." "I'll be fine," I said. "I've got a few errands." "Okay, good. By the way, Mia was wondering if you've reconsidered your blue dress. The wedding colors are blush and sage, and she's worried it won't look good in photos." The blue dress. The one I'd sacrificed dinners for. The nicest thing I owned. "I'll see what I can do," I whispered. When I hung up, I stared at the cashier's check in its envelope. For a moment, doubt flooded in. Why am I doing this? Why am I still trying to win them over? But then Richard's voice returned, steady in my memory. "Follow your heart, Janet. You've always had better judgment than you think." So I doubled down. I walked into a boutique on Main Street I'd never dared enter before. Price tags hidden, fabrics that whispered wealth when they brushed your skin. An elegant saleswoman tilted her head and studied me. "I need something for a wedding," I told her. "I'm the mother of the groom." 2 hours later, I left with not one, but 3 outfits. Sage green for the rehearsal, navy for the ceremony, coral for the gift opening. My hair styled, nails polished, shoes that clicked confidently against the pavement. When I looked in the mirror that night, I didn't see the widow who counted coins for soup. I saw Janet White, a woman with presence, a woman who mattered. The rehearsal dinner was my first test. I walked into the Oceanside Club, valet ticket in hand, my sage dress catching the chandelier light. Heads turned. "Mom," Noah said, his eyes widening, "you look different." "Just something I had in the closet," I lied smoothly. Mia's smile tightened, her eyes flicking over me with quick calculation. "Lovely dress, Janet. Is it new?" Her mother leaned in with a champagne flute. "So nice to finally meet you. Noah speaks very highly of you." That startled me. Noah speaking highly of me? That hadn't happened in years. I sat at table 6, still not the head table, but for the first time, I didn't care. Because I knew something they didn't. Power had shifted, quietly, invisibly. Throughout the evening, Noah kept glancing at me, his brow furrowed. He couldn't quite name it, but he felt it. Something had changed. And he was right. That night, back in my apartment, I placed the white box on the counter, the cashier's check, and the deed tucked neatly inside. My hand lingered on the lid. They thought it was crystal wine glasses, a polite little gift from a struggling widow. But really, it was a mirror, a reflection of who they were and who I had become. As I lay in bed, sleep refused to come. My thoughts tumbled over each other. Memories of Noah as a boy. Richard's hand steadying mine. Mia's sharp smile. The weight of that white box. I knew I was playing a dangerous game. I knew timing was everything. And yet, beneath the fear and the guilt, a quiet fire burned. I wasn't just a mother anymore. I wasn't just a widow scraping by. I was a woman with $38 million and a plan. And in 2 weeks, on the day of the wedding, everyone would see it. The white box sat on my counter, waiting. So did I. The morning of the wedding arrived with a chill I hadn't expected. September sunlight filtered through my thin curtains, bright but cold, as if the universe was warning me. On the closet door hung my navy dress, soft beading that shimmered like raindrops, the most expensive garment I'd ever owned. Beside it sat the white box, the silver ribbon still crisp. Inside, the beach house deed, the cashier's check for $3 million, and every ounce of hope I'd foolishly clung to about being seen, finally, as more than an obligation. I sipped coffee slowly, staring out the window. For the first time in weeks, my hands trembled. "Richard," I whispered into the stillness. "Wish you were here." I could almost hear him chuckle. "You'll be fine, Janet. You've always been stronger than you think." At 1 o'clock sharp, the taxi pulled up. I tucked the gift box under my arm and climbed in, careful not to wrinkle the dress. The driver glanced in the rear view. "Big event?" "My son's wedding," I answered softly. "Well," he grinned, "you look like royalty. They'll be proud." If only he knew. St. Matthew's Episcopal Church glowed in the afternoon sun, its stone facade dressed with white roses and eucalyptus garlands. Guests streamed in, laughter and perfume trailing behind them. I walked through the heavy wooden doors, the scent of polished wood and flowers wrapping around me. An usher led me to the front row, left side, mother of the groom's place. For once, tradition was on my side. Heads turned as I took my seat. I saw raised brows, whispers passing between lips. They'd expected a worn-out widow in an outdated dress. Instead, they saw someone poised, deliberate, unafraid. Noah stood at the altar, adjusting his cufflinks. He glanced up, spotted me, and did a double-take. His expression softened, almost like the boy who once looked at me as if I hung the moon. Then Mia appeared. Her gown shimmered as she glided down the aisle on her father's arm, flawless, radiant, rehearsed. The crowd sighed in unison. The ceremony unfolded predictably. Vows, rings, readings from Corinthians. When they kissed, the pews erupted in applause. I clapped too, though my palms felt heavy. The Riverside Country Club had been transformed into Mia's vision. Blush linens, sage accents, towering floral centerpieces. A fairy tale built for photographs. I was led to table 12, near the back, beside the kitchen doors. The hum of servers carrying trays never stopped. The gift box rested on my lap, heavier than it looked. Dinner was served, toasts made. I smiled politely, my fork moving without appetite. Noah danced with Mia under a shower of lights while guests cooed, phones raised to capture their every twirl. I kept my eyes on the gift table piled high with wrapping paper and ribbon. Soon, I thought. Soon, they'd unwrap mine. That's when Mia appeared. Her reception dress glittered under chandeliers, sleek and modern, designed to photograph well. She leaned close, her perfume sharp as citrus. "Janet," she whispered, sugar sweet, "could you do me a tiny favor?" "Of course, dear. Anything for you today. The photographer wants to take family photos at the main entrance. The lighting there is just perfect." I nodded. Of course. Her smile sharpened. "But could you stand by the bathroom wall instead? Just so you don't ruin the photos with your age? We're trying to keep them young and fresh for social media. You understand, right?" Time froze. Forks clinked against plates and then stopped. Mrs. Turner's grandmother's hand hovered midair, fork dangling. Great Aunt Helen's gasp cracked the silence. The words echoed, venom wrapped in velvet, "Ruin the photos with your age." I felt heat surge up my chest, humiliation burning through the fabric of my navy dress. But my voice stayed steady. "I understand perfectly," I said. I rose, smoothed my skirt, walked to the gift table, and picked up the white box. Conversation stilled. Every eye followed me as I crossed the room, past the floral arch, past the photographer setting up, past my son who tugged at his tie, oblivious. And then I walked out. The cool night air hit me like a slap. I stepped into the waiting taxi, box still clutched in my arms. The driver glanced in the mirror, puzzled. "Leaving already, ma'am? You sure you don't want to go back for cake?" I met his gaze in the glass. I'm exactly where I need to be. Back in my apartment, the silence was deafening. I set the gift box on my coffee table, the ribbon untouched. Inside sat the future they had thrown away. I brewed tea, sat in Richard's chair, and waited. At 8:30 p.m., my phone lit up. "Mom?" Noah's voice crackled with confusion. Mia said you left early. Are you feeling okay? Did something happen? I'm feeling better than I have in years, I answered, staring at the box. You missed the cake cutting, the bouquet toss. People were asking where you went. I'm sure they were. Mom, what's going on? You're being weird. Weird. 36 years of sacrifice, distilled into weird. Noah, did your wife explain why I left? A pause. She said you seemed upset but didn't know what about. She feels terrible. She feels terrible, I repeated, tasting the lie. Tell Mia not to worry. She'll understand soon enough. What does that mean? It means you should enjoy your honeymoon. Congratulations, Noah. And I hung up. The phone rang again 20 minutes later. Mia this time, her voice dripping with concern. Janet, I'm so sorry if I upset you tonight. Weddings are stressful. Everything happens so fast. I just hate to think I hurt you. Mia, I cut in, my voice calm. Did you ask me to stand by the bathroom wall so I wouldn't ruin your photos with my age? Silence. Then a stammer. Well, I was just trying to, the photographer said, so you thought I was too old, too unattractive for your precious pictures. That's not what Please don't insult my intelligence, Mia. Her tone hardened. You're being too sensitive. It was about composition, not you personally. Too sensitive. The label I'd carried like a scarlet letter through every slight, every forgotten birthday, every canceled holiday. You're absolutely right, I said. I am too sensitive. Thank you for the reminder. So you'll come to the gift opening tomorrow? She asked quickly. Everyone will be there. I wouldn't miss it. And I meant it. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. The box sat locked in my closet now, hidden behind winter coats. Tomorrow, they'd open crystal wine glasses, nothing more. The beach house and $3 million would remain mine. But what they'd receive instead was something far rarer, a lesson in consequences. I closed my eyes, already planning my next move. Tomorrow, the real game would begin. By noon the next day, I was standing in front of Noah and Mia's townhouse. The sun was hot, reflecting off the line of polished cars parked outside. Mia's parents' luxury SUV, her sister's convertible, vehicles that screamed money and confidence. I carried a white box in my hands, identical to the one I'd taken from the wedding. Same silver ribbon, same weight in appearance. But inside, just a set of crystal wine glasses. The real gift, beach house deed and a $3 million check, was locked away behind coats in my tiny apartment closet. Mia opened the door before I could knock, her smile stretched tight. Janet, I'm so glad you came. Noah's been worried sick. Her eyes flicked to the box in my hands. Relief softened her face. Of course, she thought. Mother of the groom, reliable, predictable. Come in, she cooed. The living room buzzed with voices. Guests who had lingered after the wedding filled every chair and sofa. Coffee and pastries lined the table. Piles of wrapped gifts glimmered on the rug, tissue paper spilling like confetti. I felt eyes on me as I stepped in. Noah crossed the room quickly, touching my arm. Mom, he whispered. What happened last night? You just disappeared. I was tired, I said evenly, brushing past him to place my box on the gift table. He frowned, unconvinced, but didn't press. Not here, not in front of witnesses. Catherine Turner, Mia's mother, floated over with practiced grace. She kissed the air near my cheek. Janet, darling, you look wonderful. That blouse? Divine. Thank you, Catherine. She lowered her voice just enough. I heard there was some unpleasantness last night. Just know, not everyone agrees with how things were handled. Her eyes flicked toward Mia, who was gathering people around the sofa. I almost smiled, so word had spread. Good. Let it spread. The gift opening began. Noah and Mia perched on the couch, glowing with newlywed polish. Guests circled, sipping coffee, ready to clap on cue. Each gift was unwrapped with the same script. Oh, a KitchenAid mixer, just what we needed. Luxury bedding, so thoughtful. Artwork from Bali, amazing. Mia held each item aloft, smiling for the crowd. Noah scribbled names for thank you notes. Then, at last, my white box was pulled forward. This one's from Mom, Noah announced. I folded my hands in my lap. Mia untied the ribbon delicately, peeled back the paper. Out came the crystal wine glasses, gleaming under the lights. She smiled, practiced, polite. These are beautiful, Janet. Thank you so much. Noah nodded quickly. Thanks, Mom. They're perfect. Applause rippled, then moved on to the next gift. Just like that. I felt the strangest calm, because they had no idea. No idea what had almost been theirs. No idea how close they'd come to being handed a future beyond their wildest dreams. They thought they'd seen my best. Really, they'd only unwrapped my restraint. When the last gift was opened and guests began to drift out, Noah tugged me aside near the kitchen. His voice dropped. Mom, seriously, what happened? You look different, like you're keeping something from me. I am different, I said simply. His brows furrowed. Is this about money? Because if you're struggling, Mia and I could help. We've talked about maybe contributing toward that retirement community you liked. I didn't like it, I cut in. I nodded because it seemed important to you that I agree. He blinked. Before he could respond, Mia glided over, her hostess smile flashing. Janet, she said smoothly, thank you again for the lovely glasses, and for coming today after last night. It meant a lot. Her voice was pitched just for me, a blend of apology and subtle warning. Keep quiet, keep the peace. You're welcome, I said. I hope you both will be very happy. Mia tilted her head, studying me like a puzzle piece that didn't fit. Later, as I retrieved my purse from a side chair, Noah caught me again. His tone was softer this time, almost pleading. Mom, are you sure everything's okay? You just seem different. I am different, Noah, I said, meeting his eyes. But it's a good different. He searched my face, unsettled. For the first time in years, he wasn't looking down at me from a pedestal of youth and success. He was looking up, uncertain, maybe even afraid. Back in my apartment, I slipped the real gift box deeper into the closet. My phone buzzed with a text from Mia. Thank you again, Janet. Let's do lunch soon. Just us girls. I stared at it for a long time before typing a single reply. Sure. 2 days later, I met Mia at a new cafe downtown. She breezed in wearing designer jeans and a silk blouse, casual but calculated. Janet, you look wonderful, she said, sliding into the chair opposite me. Thank you, Mia. How was Bali? Oh, paradise, she purred. Private villa, infinity pool, butler service. Noah surprised me with a sunset dinner on the beach. She stirred her latte delicately, then dropped her real question. So, about your new apartment. It's stunning. Noah mentioned you used some of Richard's money? I smiled faintly. I said I'd come into some money. I didn't specify the source. She laughed, too loudly. Don't tell me you won the lottery. I sipped my tea. Wouldn't that be something? Her eyes narrowed, calculation flashing behind her smile. Janet, we only want what's best for you. If there's something going on, you can trust us. We could help manage things, protect you. Thank you, I said, but I've already sought professional advice. Her smile faltered. We ate in silence for a few moments. Then I leaned forward. Mia, do you remember what you said at the wedding reception? Color drained from her face. Janet, I've apologized. You asked me to stand by the bathroom wall so I wouldn't ruin the photos with my age. Do you deny that? She swallowed. It was stressful. I misspoke. No, I said calmly. You said exactly what you meant. Her eyes darted away. The cafe's hum filled the space between us. I'm not angry anymore, I continued, but I've learned something. Words reveal more than people think, and actions have consequences. 3 nights later, Noah called. His voice was tight. Mom, I need to ask, Did you win the lottery? I let silence hang, the waves outside my beach house crashing against the shore. He didn't know I wasn't at the apartment. What makes you ask that? Mia said you joked about it, and you're different. The clothes, the car, the confidence, none of it makes sense otherwise. I smiled into the dark. You'll find out soon enough, Noah, I said. But first, you need to ask yourself a question. Are you worried about me or about my money? He didn't answer. I ended the call and walked to the deck. The Atlantic stretched before me, endless and fierce. They thought I was fragile. They thought I was expendable. But they were about to learn. I wasn't just the mother of the groom anymore. I was the one holding every card. And next time we met, the truth would break them. The waves roared beneath me as I whispered into the night. Game on. The invitation came from me this time. Lunch at the beach house. No more decoys, no more shadows. If Noah and Mia were going to face me, they would face all of me, truth included. I set the table simply: grilled salmon, fresh greens, artisan bread, and a lemon tart from the farmer's market. White roses and blue hydrangeas sat in a crystal vase. Nothing ostentatious, but everything chosen with care. When the doorbell rang at noon, I took a steadying breath and opened it. Noah stood holding a bottle of wine. Mia clutched her handbag like a shield. Their eyes widened as they stepped inside. Mom, Noah whispered, his gaze sweeping across the vaulted ceilings, the ocean view through the glass wall. This is incredible. Mia's lips parted, a mix of awe and calculation. Absolutely stunning, I smiled. Welcome home, or at least welcome to mine. We ate quietly at first, forks on china, waves crashing beyond the deck. Finally, Noah set his utensils down. Mom, I don't even know where to begin. I'm still trying to process all of this. Start with honesty, I suggested. He swallowed. All right, I panicked. The investigator, the questions. I didn't know how else to handle it. I thought maybe you were hiding something dangerous. Mia shifted in her seat, then spoke, her voice softer than I'd ever heard it. I owe you more than an apology, Janet. I've been unkind. From the moment we met, I felt like I had to outshine you. Instead of respecting what you'd given Noah, I chipped away at it, at you. And that comment at the wedding? She closed her eyes briefly. Unforgivable. I studied her. For once, there was no smirk, no polish, just raw shame. I'm listening, I said. Noah reached across the table, his hand covering mine. Mom, I failed you too. I stopped seeing you as a person. You became background. Someone I assumed would always be there, no matter how little attention I gave. His voice broke. I'm sorry. The words landed heavy. Apologies couldn't erase years, but they mattered. I don't want grand gestures, I told them. I want respect, not for my bank account, for me. Mia nodded quickly, tears gathering. You deserve that, always. We moved to the deck for coffee and tart. The sunlight sparkled on the water. I let the silence stretch before I spoke again. You want to know the truth, I said. Yes, I won the lottery, $62 million, $38 after taxes. That's how I bought this house. That's how I can sit here without worrying about the next Social Security check. Their mouths opened in unison, shock painted across their faces. Noah finally found words. Mom, you were going to give us... Yes, I cut in gently. The beach house, and $3 million. It was wrapped, ready, sitting on that table at the reception. Mia's face drained of color. But when you asked me to stand by the bathroom wall so I wouldn't ruin your pictures, Mia, I realized money wouldn't change how you saw me. You'd take the gift, smile for the cameras, and I'd still be an afterthought. Mia covered her mouth, trembling. Noah stared at the ocean, jaw tight. I'm not punishing you, I continued. I'm setting boundaries. You wanted me invisible. Now you'll have to see me as I am. Independent, respected, unashamed. Noah turned back, tears brimming. So, does this mean we've lost everything? You've lost the easy path, I said softly. But not me. You're my son. I want us to rebuild without money clouding it. If we can do that, maybe one day this wealth can help all of us, but it won't be the foundation. Respect has to come first. He nodded slowly, absorbing every word. Mia whispered, I don't deserve even that chance. Maybe not, I admitted, but second chances aren't about what we deserve. They're about what we do with them. They left later that afternoon, subdued but different. Not triumphant newlyweds, not schemers circling prey. Just two people forced to look at themselves, maybe for the first time. I stood on the deck long after their car disappeared. The waves rolled endlessly, steady and sure. Richard would have loved this place. He would have sat beside me with his coffee, shaking his head at how life had turned. You did good, Janet, he'd say. You finally claimed your worth. I smiled at the horizon. Because the truth is, the lottery didn't save me. It only revealed what had always been there. My right to dignity, my power to draw lines, my freedom to choose how I would be treated. Money can buy houses, cars, clothes, but respect, that has to be earned. Family can be bound by blood, but real love, the kind that sustains, that heals, requires more. It requires seeing each other fully, without conditions, without shame. I may never erase the sting of Mia's words or the ache of Noah's neglect, but I can insist on something better moving forward. And if they want me in their lives, they'll have to meet me on equal ground. Because I am not a burden. I am not a background figure. I am Janet White. And at 64, I am finally free. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, I hope my story reminds you, you are not defined by the roles others assign you. You have the right to demand respect, to live fully, to walk away from anyone who treats you as less. Thank you for listening to my journey. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. And if my story resonated, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Roots and Secrets, where real stories find their voice.